So I've got the flashlight here. You're going to want some basic leather making tools. You're going to need some glue, some thread, an awl, a bit of dye, stuff like that. But if you do your basic leather work, you'll know what kind of tools you need. One thing that's very handy for this kind of project is some paper, because it will give you an idea. If you fold this around, it will at least give you an idea of the general size of the leather you're going to need. Because obviously this will be shaped round the actual flashlight. Now I don't know if I want the head, only this part to be sticking out, or this part. I may have the whole of the head sticking up, and then this is where it will join on. You're going to use less leather there, and you've also got a slightly bigger thing to grab hold of if you want to take it out. So I'm going to get myself a general idea of how much leather I'm going to need here. Maybe better if you have this. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, but I'm going to have the head hanging over the edge of the bench. That's slightly better. Right. I'll show you this after, but I'm going to hang the edge over the bench. So for the bit that's actually going to go around the body of the torch, I'm only going to need a piece about this big. That will go around. That will sort of sit like that on a flat piece that has the belt loops on it. I'm not sure how thick I'm going to have this. I'll decide that in a minute. But what I'll do now, I'll quickly cut these bits out and then I'll come back. So this is the piece that will be the whole, pretty much the whole thing. This is approximately 24 centimetres by 6 centimetres. I also got my belt to make sure I could put the 2 slots in with enough area at the top and bottom to keep it strong, and also sideways. So this bit will be the bit that is shaped around the light, and this bit will be the back piece that will sit against your body essentially. So I'm just going to cut this out now. It's just straight down here, and those 2 bits should be all you need. Right, there's your 2 bits. That's the bit that will go around the actual flashlight. This is the bit that will sit against you, and then this will essentially be moulded. It's quite hard to do dry, but it will essentially be moulded like that so that the flashlight can drop in. So I'm just going to get this piece of leather and I'm going to soak it for probably about 30 seconds. You don't need any more than that. Don't massively soak it, otherwise it will take ages and ages and ages to dry. So 30 seconds, and then you should be able to wrap it around your flashlight quite easily. Make sure you put a bit of plastic or something around your flashlight so it doesn't get wet. Right, so I've soaked the leather, that's nice and wet. I can now mould this around the actual flashlight. I've put it on a piece of wood that's raised up. And then you can sort of manipulate the leather around the shape of the flashlight. There's a couple of ways you can do the strap bit. If you wanted to, you could have it so that it was coming right to the edges, and then you're going to have the hole up there depending on how this works, I may even need to put the slots here and have stitching either side, or what I was sort of hoping for was something similar to more like that, where I could have the slit here. But we'll see what happens. I will keep moulding this around till I'm happy with its position, and then what I'll do is temporarily just peg it, and then you can leave that to dry, and then when it dries it will hold its shape. So this is where we are now, and I'm going to basically leave that to dry. If you've got a little heater, you can put this in front of a heater and you can have it dry in probably 20 minutes. You can see how that sort of fits around the flashlight. Make sure, if like this one where the bulbous end is, will still go in and out. So that can be left now, and then once dry we can start working on it. Right, so the lever is all fully glued up now, and I've cut it to the size I need. And this is what we've got now. And I can have the slots there and there, stitch line here. Now if you wanted to, you could just have the lever coming right to the edges and have a double thickness sort of loop. But this saved a bit of leather because I'm running out of leather. So I've done it this way so that I could have some leather for other things. What I need to do now is mark for the stitch line, which will go along here. Right, so using my little stitching fork that I made myself, I have marked the holes. I'm just going to do a single stitch line. Those holes don't go all the way through, they're just to mark where I need to either drill or push the awl through. I think that should work quite well. So I'm going to make those holes all the way through now. I couldn't do a groove, partly because every time you try and get this on, that piece of metal's in the way. So I could do it freehand, but I won't bother. It doesn't need it with this. And these you can buy online easy enough. I may have bought one in there. I often don't bother with the bought ones, because I actually prefer my own, because I prefer the distance of these tines. It's a lot better, because the other ones, they're too close in my opinion. So I'm going to make these holes and I'll start stitching. I have put the little grooves in the end. I just took the little metal bit off. After you've done the holes, it's a lot easier to line the groove up. I've done it on the front and the back. So I'm start stitching that now. I'm just going to start from the back. And then basically work my way through the holes. One way. And then I'll come back and then I'll fill those in. I'll try a knot in this first bit though, so I don't accidentally pull that through. Just make sure your stitches are nice and tight. And what I mean by in and out is when you sew, you'll have a gap. And when you get to here, you come back and fill it in and you can tie it back off. Right, I shall carry on. Just going in and out. Then back up, filling in the gaps. That's one of the stitch lines done. What I've done is I've gone through a couple of times this end and this end, just to strengthen up those points where it may be pulling on it. There's the little knot on there, and I'm just going to burn that. Flatten that down. And then you can, I don't know if I've got the angle here. You can hammer it down flat. I'll just clean up that little edge. I'm going to work on the other end now, sew that up, and then I'll be back. So now we've got this sewn up, we can mark for the slots to put your belt through. So this is the belt I use. So I can mark the width of it. Hopefully you can see me doing that. I'll do that on both sides. So now I just need to make a slot between those lines. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a hole punch. I'll do an actual proper line. So that's smack bang in the middle. It should hopefully give it a little bit of flexibility. Punch a hole in the top and the bottom, and then I'll cut between those. I won't do the actual hole here. This is a bit bouncy here when I try and do this, and the camera won't really point the other way. Okay, so there are the holes. Now I just basically need to cut in between them. Like that. I'll tell you something that works quite well for this. You can use a knife, but, you know, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do it both ways. So one side I shall use a knife. I'm going to have to do it so you can't, I'll try and do it this way so you can see what I'm doing. It's sort of left-handed, right-handed type stuff. I'm going to press the knife into the leather rather than try and slice it, because you could accidentally come right over the edge. I could probably run the knife along it now. Just be careful. Okay, so there's the slot in that side. That's come out quite nice. So the other way you could do it, draw your lines again. And then use a chisel. So you can chisel between the marks. So it's not quite cut all the way through yet, but that's nearly. Well, it's pretty much nearly through. The chisels are good, especially if you have quite long lines to do. So there you go, there's the two slots for our belt. Now I'm going to start just rounding over these edges, and with an edger, which is one of these, taking off the edges. I don't know how well you can see that, let me show you that again. If you don't have an edger, you can just sand the edges smooth, stuff like that. But I'm going to go around all the edges now and round them off. To round these corners off, I'm basically just cutting off the corner and then taking off the edges, basically. Because you can smooth that better afterwards with some sandpaper anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's slightly sort of squared off, because we will be sanding around there anyway. So I've taken all the edges off. Now what I'm going to do, take a piece of sandpaper and just round over the edges of any bits that I'm not happy with, just to make them a bit smoother. You can flatten these bits out if they're not quite level and stuff like that. You can also use sandpaper to turn the edges over if you don't have the tools for it. But the whole point of the way I do these projects is to show you how to do these things with very easy to find tools, or even tools you can make yourself. Most of the tools I've got here, well, not most, but some of them are homemade. Okay. That's better. I just need to do the edges of the straps, and then we'll start sort of burnishing the edge, and I'll show you how to do that next. We should do some basic edge burnishing now. So you just want to wet the edge. Now, not massively, so I just dip my fingers in and just sort of wipe it on. You don't even need to dip it in, really. That is probably enough. And then with one of these, you can just get a piece of wood and put a groove in it with a file, or you can just literally rub a piece of wood on it. And this is more about just friction, and you're just smoothing the edge, basically. It'll just make it look so much nicer. This is quite a rough bit of leather, but it'll work. But if you look at the difference between that bit there and that bit there, you can see a difference of how rough that is and how smooth that is becoming. You don't need to do it for ages either. And then once you've done it, you can take that edge off again. If it's starting to curl over, take the edge off again with the edging tool. I'm quite happy with that so far. It's looking good. So what we need to do now is dye it. So this depends on what you've got, really. I use actual proper Fibings leather dye, but there are various ways you can dye leather, and it's worth looking into that. Basically anything that will stain the leather should work. I have put wood stain on leather before. Doesn't look quite as good. You can use things like food colorings, stuff like that. But the proper dyes, the proper alcohol dyes, do work best because it just does it straight away. So I shall get my dye out and I'll show you that process quickly. It won't take long. Okay, that's the leather dye I use. You will need gloves. Yeah, well, you don't need gloves, but your hands will be brown and you won't be able to get it off. Now, if, like me, you're a bit messy with your glue, you may notice some spots that don't dye. What you need to do with those, let's see, there may not be any because I sanded them off, but if you do have any spots where you've got some glue on there, and it won't die, just get some wire wool or some very light sandpaper and just sand where that area was. It will scuff up the edge of your leather a little bit, but it's about the only way you can do it. You could probably use acetone, maybe that'll get the glue off. But I tend to just use wire wool because it just does it straight away and then you can carry on working. But as you can see, as soon as you start to dye this, it doesn't have to look so much better, I think. I think a lot of leather stuff doesn't look very good until it's dyed. So once you've dyed your leather, doesn't it look so much better? So it'll become a little supple at the minute, so it's worth putting whatever you're making it for into it. It holds its shape. Now I'm going to wax this just to finish it off. Make sure your leather is dry. If you're using the alcohol dyes, they dry really quickly anyway. So to wax my leather, I just use G-Wax. Really good, soaks into it really nicely. Just basically put it on the cloth, rub it in. I don't know how well you'll see that, but if you look at the piece I've just done there compared to that edge, shining it up nicely already, and you can seal it as well, and even like the back bit will seal up well with this wax. Just really force that in. I'll see if I can show you the difference, but yeah, so you can see the wax side and the non-wax side. Once that's in the leather, that won't sort of come out, it won't rub off on your clothes or anything. So I shall carry on now and wax the whole thing and then come back. So there you go, there it is finished. I'll do some proper pictures in a bit so you can see high quality images of it, because obviously the lighting's not very good in here. But I'm really happy with that. I'll try it on, I'll see how it fits in my pocket, because the whole point of this is to have basically just a head sticking up just above your trousers, and the handle will actually be in your pocket, not on the outside, so you can walk around in the day, not really with the torch being seen, but it still has easy access. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. So I'll take some pictures, but don't forget to watch the rest of the video. Definitely like it if you enjoyed it. Subscribe, because I do plenty of stuff like this. I'll show you more simple leather working projects. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to watch the rest of the video. Cheers everyone. See you later.